It's like a deep pink and mauve. It's stunning. Beautiful dinner-sized plate blooms. But they are absolutely one of my favorite things to look at out my window. Hi, it's Steph. I'm in a growing zone 6, and the way that I'm going to do this is for each plant, I'm going to bring up the specs online so that you can see whether or not it could grow in your own growing zone. And up first is a hardy hibiscus, and the variety that I have is the Proven Winners Summerific Perfect Storm. This is a part sun to sun flowering shrub. The flower season is spring and summer. For me here in my zone 6, it will start breaking dormancy a little bit late in spring, and it will flower in August. The mature size is 3 to 5 feet tall and wide, and mine is in its 3rd season and already at pretty much full grown. And the growing zones is USDA zones 4 through 9. So here it is in my garden. And here in this bed, currently my Perfect Storm hibiscus is all leafed out in this large dark foliage. So this should be blooming probably in the next month, and it will fill up this whole corner here. And this beautiful dark foliage plant here is the hardy hibiscus. This particular variety is by Proven Winners, and it is called the Perfect Storm Hardy Hibiscus. And what I really love about this one is it's got this dark foliage. It has these really beautiful dinner plate sized blooms that are a light pink with a really dark center of either a fuchsia or red. Gorgeous, really tropical looking. This is a Perfect Storm Hardy Hibiscus by Proven Winners, and it has been planted here for about 3 years. The specs on this particular hibiscus say that they get to be 48 to 52 inches in height and width, and you can see that this one is pretty much full grown at this time. So I don't know how much larger it's going to get, but I'm absolutely loving how beautiful it looks. This hibiscus has dark foliage and these really large, beautiful dinner-sized plate blooms. You can see that they are about a light pink with a little bit of white, and they have a dark red center. They're really tropical looking, and I really enjoy seeing this here in the back by my shed. I wanted to show you the back of this hardy hibiscus because it is loaded down with blooms on all sides. So if you had a bed that you can see from different angles and different sides, this would be a great centerpiece plant because it is so loaded with blooms that you can enjoy from every side. And here is my hibiscus that finished blooming just a couple of weeks ago, but this dark foliage is still looking really beautiful. Even when it's not in bloom, just this foliage makes it a really beautiful plant. But right now, it's also having really pretty fall color. And it has shades of red and yellow. And pretty soon, once all of this fall color is gone, all of the leaves are going to start to crisp up and fall off. And when they do, at that point, I will go ahead and I will cut this shrub back. I will cut it right down, and I'll just leave a little stub of each stem at the bottom because hibiscus are really late to break dormancy in the spring, or actually in late spring, early summer. And I always worry about whether or not the shrub is going to come back. And so for that reason, I like to leave a little stub so I know exactly where it is and where I should expect it to pop through the soil. Up next is a beautiful hydrangea that blooms earlier than all my other hydrangeas in my garden, and it is the Quick Fire Panicle Hydrangea by Proven Winners. And here are the specs on this one here. It is a part sun to sun hydrangea. It will bloom in pretty much, it will start flowering for me in June here in my zone 6, so in early summer, and it will have interest through the fall. The mature size on this one is 6 to 8 feet tall and wide. And I've had mine for 3 years, and it's pretty much getting there at this point. Just a little more to go, and it is hardy in zones USDA 3 through 8. And my Quick Fire hydrangea is all budded up. So this is a beautiful hydrangea. I actually bought this thing on clearance a couple of years ago, and it has done really beautifully for me and fills out this corner really nicely. I absolutely love it. This has put on so much growth. This is a Quick Fire hydrangea, and it is the traditional Quick Fire, which gets to be pretty large. In fact, George is probably going to roll his eyes at me when I say that it gets 6 to 8 feet tall and wide because he is afraid of shrubs that get too large. But it is just so beautiful. Look at it. Like, how can you not love it, right? It's got a really open panicle type bloom. I mean, it is absolutely gorgeous. And I really love it. So I'm okay with it filling up this whole corner. In fact, I planted it back here on purpose so that it could get as big as it wants. And my Quick Fire hydrangea. This hydrangea is a showstopper. It's got these really gorgeous and large open panicle type blooms. And last month when I did my July garden tour, it was a creamy shade of white. And you can see that now as we head into the end of August, it's taken on this really gorgeous deep pink pink color. And it will continue to deepen as we get into the fall. This is a great hydrangea. If you are looking for a nice large shrub type hydrangea that has a really sturdy stem, this is one to consider. Look at the color on this as we head into the fall. Is that not beautiful? And this hydrangea has sort of an open panicle, so it's very airy in the way that it carries its blooms. I have to say that between this and my little limes, it's really hard to choose the favorite. Next up is another beautiful hydrangea. This is the Little Lime Hydrangea by Proven Winners. I've also had this one in my garden for about 3 years and they are absolutely stunning. I have a hedge of 3 and they are in full sun all day long and handle it like a champ. And what's more is that this hydrangea has such a long season of interest, as you will see coming up next. Here are some specs on the Little Lime Panicle Hydrangea. It is a part sun to sun flowering hydrangea. It has long season of interest. It starts to flower in early summer and it will go all the way through fall. And it has a size of 3 to 5 feet tall and wide. It is hardy in USDA zones 3 through 8. And here on this side of the shed, I have a hedge of 3 little lime hydrangeas. I absolutely love this hedge here. In fact, I can see it from my bedroom window, from my living room, and from my kitchen. And I'm always excited to see what it looks like each day throughout the season because it changes so much. The little lime hydrangea is all budded up, and I already actually have one that is starting to bloom. These are absolutely beautiful. They go through such a large array of color change and they have such a long season of interest. When they first open up, they have a bit of a, kind of like a limey green coloring. If you look here, they have a little bit of a lime green coloring. And then they open up to this beautiful creamy color. And then as we get later into the summer and the evenings start to get cooler, they start to take on a pink hue. And my little lime hydrangeas, I absolutely love these. They are about 3 years old in this hedge here, and they have grown so well in this spot. This is a full sun location, and in general, the paniculata type hydrangeas can tolerate more sun than say the macrophylla types. And I have to say that these little limes have handled the sun in this location wonderfully. So if you're looking for a hydrangea that can tolerate a bit more sun and heat, this would be a good option. And now they are starting to transition into their pink color. In areas where you get cooler nights, such as us here in zone 6, they will start transitioning to this pink color as the weather gets cooler. I know that in some areas in the south or warmer climates, they don't always transition to the pink. So we are very fortunate here. I absolutely love these hydrangeas. The color that they get this time of year is unmatched. They have these gorgeous shades of green and pink and mauve, and they will continue to change over the next month. But they are absolutely one of my favorite things to look at out my window. When I'm doing dishes in my kitchen, this is the view that I have, and I really love the addition of this little hedge here. I have 3 little lime hydrangeas planted here, and they have been here for this is its 3rd season, and they've really filled out this area. The hedge of the little lime hydrangeas has its fall color now. So this is the rest of the pink. So it's been pink for a little while now, probably since the end of August. They turned their beautiful shades of pink, and now they're starting to fade into that shade of what I like to call golden bronze. It's more of a brown coloring when they get fully dry. Up next is a beautiful perennial that I've only had in my garden for 2 years, but it is outstanding and I absolutely love it. It is a variety of lambsare called Helen Vonstein, and this is a foliage type perennial. My variety of Helen Vonstein does not bloom, and when I looked up online whether or not it was a blooming lambsare, it is very seldom that it might send up a bloom stalk. And what that means is that unlike the traditional lambsare, it won't drop a ton of seed and become weedy and invasive. So it is a really good one. It also grows prolifically, which means it would be a wonderful ground cover. So here are some specs on the Helen Vonstein lambsare. You can see here it has this beautiful blue-gray color and fuzzy texture, and it is hardy in USDA zones 4 through 9. It has a mature height of 8 inches, but it will grow much wider. So you can see that there is no width listed because it can grow pretty big. Easily dividable. I've divided it a bunch of times. It's also deer and rabbit resistant because it has that fuzzy texture, which is great. And you can see here it says really flowers. It does well in full sun and part sun, and here it is in my garden. If you like lamb's ear, but you don't want it to become invasive, some of the varieties that bloom can drop seed, and before you know it, you have tons of lamb's ear everywhere. Let me share with you this variety in case you're not familiar with it. It is called the Helen Vonstein lamb's ear, and it is gorgeous. It is a wonderful foliage perennial. It has this amazing blue-gray color, and it has a fuzzy texture, which means that deer mostly stay away from it. I don't have any deer eating on these, no bunnies, nothing. I have a hole in that leaf. It might be from a snail or slug, but you can see that in general, they look fabulous. These lamb's ear, the Helen Vonstein, they might not look as big as they actually are on camera, but they are a beast in a good way. I had bought 3 small containers at Home Depot last year, at the beginning of last season, so 2022. You've already divided them a bunch of times. I had some over by my shed. I've given some away, and I now have 5 huge clumps just from those 3 that I started with, plus the ones that I gave away. Let me just show you how large this is. So they're definitely much bigger than the container specs had read. So this across is nearly 3 feet. See that? This is a large plant. It's 3 by 3. And it would probably continue to grow, which is why I think it does serve as a great edge of the border plant, ground cover. So this is a really good foliage plant. If you want something that gets big, Helen Vonstein lamb's ear. Up next is an annual. And an annual is a plant that you will start from seed. It'll do all of its growing in one season, and then it dies and it's done. It won't return the following year. And the one that I'm talking about is the Gomphrena. I've grown Gomphrena in my garden from seed for the last 2 seasons. In 2022, I grew a variety that I purchased from Baker Creek called Atomic Purple, and it was absolutely stunning. I liked it so much that in 2023, I went back to Baker Creek's website and I purchased a different color, a white variety called Snow White. So let me show you the specs on those. So you can see here that the Baker Creek website is actually called rareseeds.com, and I grew all of those plants from 1 pack of seeds. This is the Atomic Purple. It was a gorgeous purple with a center that was a bit white, and you'll see that in my video clip. And this one here, you can see that it takes lots of sun, sprouts in 5 to 14 days. I do have better success with the seeds when you soak them. So if you soak the seeds before you sow them, they grow and germinate much better. They handle sun like a champ, and they can be drought tolerant once established, so very minimal watering required to keep them happy. They are also deer and rabbit resistant, which is wonderful for me in my garden. So all in all, a rock star annual. So here's the variety that I grew in 2022. And in 2023, I grew this variety here, the Snow White, which is also really prolific. It grew just as well as the purple. I just preferred the color on the purple more. But here they are in my garden. Let's not overlook the Gomphrena. So this is the 2nd year in a row that I've been growing Gomphrena from seed. And I have to say that it is certainly one of my favorites for the front of this border. I start these from seed. I start some from through the winter sowing method. I've started some just by putting them in pots, little small pots, 4-inch containers at the beginning of May. And they really start going when it heats up. So in July, I usually plant out the seedlings somewhere in the beginning of June, and then by July, they've started to put on a good amount of growth. And by August, they start looking like this, nice and full. And they just get fuller and fuller, August, September, and look at them in October. I love the way they spill over the walkway. I will say that I do think that I preferred the Atomic Purple Gomphrena that I grew last season, just because they were more vibrant and they were a bit more visible from the street. The white was a little bit harder to notice, but once they filled out and they had this many blooms on them, they also provided a pretty show. And up last, but certainly not least, is my garden assistant and husband George's favorite shrub in our garden, and that is the Proven Winners Double Play Candy Corn Spirea. Now, what is so wonderful about this shrub is that it has the most beautiful color changes. and it has foliage for a really long time, so a very long season of interest. It will start putting out its foliage when my daffodils are blooming. That is in about April, so really early it will start emerging with a beautiful red foliage, and you'll see that in my video clip. But not only does it have a really long season of interest and gorgeous foliage color, it also will bloom in late spring, early summer. So it is just a gorgeous shrub. It is considered dwarf, so it is a more compact variety of spirea. And let's check out the specs on this one. So it likes part sun to sun. The seasons of interest are early spring, summer, and fall. It will only lose its leaves for me probably towards the end of October here in my zone 6. So while it is deciduous and will lose its leaves for winter, it keeps its foliage for a really long time. The mature size on it here on the website says that it gets to be about 2 by 2.5 feet tall and wide. And it is hardy in USDA zones 4 through 8. And here it is. My candy corn spirea here has also started to put on its blooms. It has a really beautiful yellow foliage with some red tips on the new growth and these pink blooms. Beautiful shrub here in front of my boulevard cypress is called a candy corn spirea. It is a dwarf spirea, but it has the most beautiful color variation. It will start with a red coloring in very early spring, then it will turn orange and then a yellow chartreuse color, and then all of these beautiful colors. You can see this is all the new growth. So this is why it's called candy corn. It has almost like a red and an orangey and yellow color. It's stunning. So if you have a spot that you want a really eye-catching spirea for full sun, the candy corn spirea is a great choice. And another thing that's looking really pretty and golden is my candy corn spirea. Now this is a deciduous shrub, so it will start losing its leaves any day now, but this is a shrub that gets such a beautiful variety of color. And that was my list. And if you liked this video, if you found value in it, I would love it if you could hit the thumbs up. If you watch my videos and you haven't yet subscribed, I would love it if you could subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you'll be notified every time that I put out a new video. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit the thumbs up button, and please consider subscribing so you don't miss any of my future videos. And we'll see you soon.